When the Millionaire's blind kids met their cleaner, the shocking truth that changed everything. The air hung thick, electric with anticipation, as whispers ricocheted off the marble walls of the sprawling mansion. Distant laughter from high society events echoed, but nothing could drown out the unmistakable tension mounting in the luxurious family room. There it sat, a huge painting, cloaked in a purple velvet curtain, hiding secrets that would shatter lives. But even more shocking were the children at the heart of this unfolding drama, the twins, Daniel and Mia, blind since birth yet uniquely attuned to the world's hidden nuances. Mia had always felt the weight of this mansion. It was more than just luxury, it was a fortress. A weighted blanket pressing down on her, blending resentment with curiosity. Just beyond her fingertips, the world was a swirl of colors she could only imagine. The twins sensed the stranger's presence, and instinctively, they turned their heads towards the sound of clicking heels on polished wood. Their cleaner, an ordinary woman named Clara, was set to become the catalyst for an extraordinary revelation that evening. As Clara dusted the ornate candelabra, her mind raced. Something wasn't right. She could feel a vibrating tension in the air, an energy that prickled her skin. No ordinary day could lead to what was about to unfold. She glanced over her shoulder, catching Mia's tense expression. Was it fear in the girl's eyes, or was it something more? An inexplicable connection flickered in that moment, 3 lives intertwining, bound by the threads of fate. What Clara didn't know was that the twins had uncovered a chilling secret buried deep in their family's history, a truth their parents had fought to keep hidden. They were about to draw Clara into a whirlwind that would unravel everything. Just then, the room fell deadly quiet. No laughter. No clinking champagne flutes. Just silence, thick and oppressive. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Then, without warning, the velvet curtain fluttered, like a heartbeat. The children gasped. Clara's back stiffened. The air was thick enough to choke on, and the moment stretched, pulling taut like a drawn bowstring. What lay behind that curtain? Truth? Danger? They were on the precipice of something immense, but only numbers on a clock ticked into the eerie silence, counting down to the moment that would change everything they knew forever. The moment hung suspended, a fragile balance between the known and the unimaginable. Clara blinked, her breath catching, as if the very act of breathing might alter the course of what they were about to face. The tension clawed at her stomach, but she stood her ground, tension coiling tighter around her. Mia and Daniel, their senses sharpened beyond what sight could offer, leaned closer, as though the very air thickened with secrets begging to be revealed. What was behind that curtain? They sensed the rhythm there, a pulse that resonated with their own. Clara, more than just a cleaner, was now a part of this unfolding drama, whether she wanted to be or not. She took a tentative step forward, drawn in by the twins' intuitive energy. Do you want me to? Her voice was barely a whisper. Daniel interrupted, his tone urgent. No. Let us. We need to know. Mia squeezed her brother's hand and nodded. Together they took one shaky breath, the kind that held both fear and determination. Clara stepped back as the children moved in tandem, their delicate fingers brushing the soft fabric of the curtain. A pulse of electricity danced in the air around them. As they pulled the curtain aside, a wave of cool air swept through the room, a herald of revelation. The painting was an enigma, its colors vibrant yet unsettling. A haunting landscape sprawled out before them. But it wasn't just the artistry that captured their attention. It was what lay within it. In the middle of the canvas, a dark figure loomed, almost human-like but twisted, its features distorted into an expression that sent shivers down Clara's spine. Both twins stepped back, a jolt of apprehension coursing through them. They could almost hear whispers rising from the depths of the painting. insidious and tantalizing. Do you hear that? Daniel asked. It's like laughter. Or cries, Mia countered, her brow furrowed. Clara leaned in closer, her heart racing. She felt a chill seep into her bones. It was unsettling, unfair to their innocence, to expose them to something so dark. This isn't right, she muttered, but the pull of that haunting figure drew them in further. Suddenly, a sharp sound pierced the air, the ringing of a phone from an unseen corner of the room. Clara jumped. The twins exchanged glances, their earlier bravado giving way to anxiety. What could it be? Should we answer it? Clara suggested hesitantly, though a voice in the back of her mind yelled against it. Yes, Daniel stated, his voice holding an unusual firmness. Clara moved towards the sound, pressed into action by both fear and curiosity. As she reached for the receiver, a sense of dread hung over them like a cloud. What if it's a mistake? It's not a mistake, Mia whispered, her palms sweaty. It was meant to happen. When Clara lifted the receiver, she was met with silence. No voice on the other end, just an eerie calm that fueled the fire of their unease. Hello? She called out, fearing the dead air. A voice suddenly surged through, distorted, twisted, unmistakably familiar. You shouldn't have looked, now you have to choose. Clara's stomach dropped. The twins shuddered together. Desperation clawed at her throat. What do you want from us? She demanded. The voice laughed, a sound echoing hollowly, chilling them to the bone. Everything will be revealed. But only if you dare. As shadows danced across the room, Clara's hands trembled, and she felt the weight of the universe pressing down on her. They were in over their heads, and there was no turning back now. What did the voice want? What secrets would unravel next? The weight of choice loomed ahead, and the tension tightened its grip. Just as questions began to swirl, the lights flickered, plunging the room into darkness. The only thing they could hear was their breath, rapid and frantic. What had they awakened? What awaited them in the dark? Would they dare to find out? The darkness wrapped around them like a suffocating blanket. Clara's heart hammered painfully against her ribcage. She could barely see her own hands in front of her face, let alone the twins. Panic bubbled in her throat, threatening to choke her. Mia! Daniel! She called out, her voice trembling. The silence that followed felt menacing, each second stretching longer than the last. Had they both vanished, swallowed by the void? A soft whisper broke through the oppressive quiet. Clara. It wasn't either of the twins, it was the voice from the phone. Dewy droplets of cold fear rolled down her spine. You chose to look, now you have to face the consequence. Clara stumbled backward, her pulse quickening as thoughts raced through her mind. She held on to the wall for support, every creak of the house amplifying her dread. What do you want? Who are you? Silence followed, a low chuckle echoing into the darkness, wrapping around her like barbed wire. Mia! Daniel! She shouted again, this time more frantic, desperate. A flicker of light illuminated the room, revealing two terrified faces, eyes wide and filled with uncertainty. Daniel had his hands clenched into fists, while Mia was visibly shaking. Clara? Daniel's voice wobbled slightly. What is happening? They stood close together, but the shadows still danced at their feet. I don't know, Clara replied, her voice barely above a whisper. She took a step toward them, the ground feeling unstable beneath her feet, as if the world was shifting away from reality. Suddenly, the lights flickered back on, bright and harsh, casting an unnatural glow across the room. The painting remained, imposing and grotesque. Clara's eyes darted back to the canvas. The dark figure was now glaring back at them, its features shifting as though it were alive. We have to get out of here, Mia urged, her small body shaking. But Daniel's gaze wouldn't leave the painting. It's trying to tell us something, he insisted. Do you see how it changes? What if it needs us? Clara felt a surge of frustration. It's trying to trap us. Don't you see that? But as she said it, she wondered. What if Daniel was right? What if there was something far more sinister? Clara? Daniel's voice was insistent, breaking her thoughts. Maybe if we touch it, something will happen. It's a part of the choice. No! We can't! She protested, panic flooding her. We don't know what that will unleash. But Daniel had already stepped closer. His fingers reached out toward the canvas, glimmering with the promise of untold secrets. Clara felt the ground shift beneath her, as if her instincts were screaming at her to stop him. Daniel, wait! But it was too late. The moment his fingers met the surface, a ripple surged through the painting, almost alive. A shriek, raw and echoing, erupted as shadows burst forth, tendrils of darkness slithering around them. Clara's eyes widened as she screamed, "Run! Get back!" Mia grabbed her brother's arm, dragging him away, but it felt like the shadows could reach out and pull them back. The darkness swirled, pulling at the edges of their reality, a sinister force that was awakening. What did we unleash? Clara thought as she fought to maintain her grip on both reality and hope. The house seemed to shudder with a pulse of energy, threatening to break apart under the weight of the painting's revealed secrets. And then, in that chaos of uncertainty, the voice emerged once more, primal and commanding. You wanted the truth now, embrace the terror that comes with it. The room trembled, and Clara realized they had just taken the first step into an abyss that would change everything. As the shadows writhed and closed in, she took one last look at the twins, her heart heavy with dread. What waited for them on the other side of that painting? What truths would unravel from the darkness? With every moment, the stakes grew higher, and they were teetering on the brink. Would they have the courage to discover what lay beyond? The shadows lunged toward them, a mass of writhing darkness that pulsed with a sinister energy. Clara felt the air grow heavy, thick as syrup, each breath a struggle. The twins pressed against her, their fear infectious as they instinctively huddled close. Clara! Mia's voice cracked, her grip tightening on Clara's arm. What do we do? I don't know. The weight of helplessness crashed down on Clara as the darkness danced and twisted, feeding off their terror. In that moment, she envisioned the future, the three of them lost forever in this suffocating nightmare. A tremor rattled the ground beneath them, and Clara realized that they had to act, to do something before they were engulfed completely. We need to touch the painting together, she shouted over the chaos, her own resolve surprising her. Maybe it's a way to fight back. Daniel looked from Clara to Mia, his face pale. Are you sure? What if it's worse? Clara hesitated. What if they became trapped forever? But the voice echoed again, mocking her doubts. You wanted the truth? This is your path. Her heart raced, an urgent drumbeat pushing her forward. Together, Clara commanded, rallying her courage. The twins exchanged glances, and then, slowly, they nodded. They had no other choice but to follow Clara's instinct. They stepped closer to the painting, the darkness swirling dangerously around them, reaching for their legs like jagged teeth. Clara grasped the hands of Mia and Daniel, feeling their warmth against the cold creeping in. On three, Clara breathed. 1, 2, 3. They pressed their palms flat against the canvas, and the painting ignited with a blinding light. It whirled around them, sucking them into its heart. Clara screamed, time bending and breaking as visions surrounded her, a torrent of colors, faces, and shadows. They tumbled through memories, each moment a different story written in pain and fear. And then it stopped. They landed hard on a wooden floor, cold and solid beneath them. Clara blinked rapidly, trying to understand. In front of them was an empty room, bare walls nearly glowing with an eerie light. The same grotesque painting hung on the wall, but now it was still, a sentry rather than a beast. What just happened? Mia gasped, looking around. Are we safe? The walls vibrated gently, vibrating with a hum that sent chills down Clara's spine. I think we're in a different place, she uttered, cautiously stepping away from the painting. Daniel nodded, eyes scanning the corners. But what did we leave behind? What did we become? As they moved further into the room, they spotted a large mirror hanging on the wall opposite the painting. Each step felt heavy, as if they were wading through murky water. They approached it carefully. For a moment they were silent, breathing in unison, hearts pounding. Clara leaned closer, the air prickling with an unsettling energy. "What do you see?" she asked, terror simmering beneath the surface of her voice. In the mirror, they didn't see their reflections. Instead, they saw a swirling mass, their shadows huddled together, stark against the bright light that enveloped them. But there was something else, something flickering like memories half remembered. Images scrolled past like film reels, friends laughing, moments of joy, and then darkness, piercing screams, and finally, a single adult figure, cloaked in shadows, locking eyes with Clara. "Who is that?" she whispered, terror clenching her gut. Before anyone could answer, the mirror cracked, and a chill swept through the air. A voice, low and haunting, whispering through the shards, carried a sinister promise. "You will discover who you are meant to be, but not without sacrifice." Clara's breath caught. What were they really part of? What choices lay ahead that they couldn't yet comprehend? In that moment, the ground beneath them trembled again, a warning as the mirror began to pull them in toward a truth that might still remain hidden. What would they sacrifice to confront this darkness that was now their reality? Would they embrace the terror of their destiny, or would it consume them completely? The tremors intensified, a pulsing rhythm beneath their feet, as if the very foundation of the room was alive, hungry. Clara's heart raced, and she wrestled with the fear creeping in. The mirror, with its jagged cracks, seemed to beckon her closer, urging her to confront the impending darkness. "Mia! Daniel! We can't let it take us!" Clara yelled, gripping the twins' hands tighter. The faint glow from the painting began to dim, swallowed by the mounting shadows that twisted along the walls. The buzzing energy in the air grew heavier, as if dense fog was wrapping around them, threatening to suffocate their resolve. "Look!" Daniel pointed. A narrow beam of light shot out from the mirror's fractures, illuminating a strange symbol on the floor that had not been there moments before. It flickered and writhed, casting shadows that danced around their ankles. "What is that?" Mia asked, eyes wide with a mixture of fear and curiosity. "I don't know, but it feels important," Clara replied, her voice a whisper, her throat tight. Each word felt like a fragile thread threatening to snap. The shadows writhed closer, pulling back only when Clara took a hesitant step toward the symbol. The moment her foot touched the floor, the symbol flared with brightness, revealing intricate patterns, a webbing of destiny they could not ignore. What if it's a way to break the connection? She wondered aloud, the thought igniting a flicker of hope. What if it can save us from that? But as she glanced back at the mirror, the cloaked figure was unmistakably there, now clearer than before. It loomed closer, its voice echoing chillingly in Clara's mind. "You cannot escape what you truly are." "No!" she cried, feeling Daniel's grip tighten on her shoulder, his breath coming out in quick gasps. "We can't let it get to us. We have to stand together." As the shadows pressed tighter, Clara tossed her doubts aside. She turned back to the swirling symbol and shouted, "We trust each other. We embrace this truth." Each syllable resonated with the room, shaking the walls as if the very air needed to absorb their intentions. The symbol pulsed back at them, vibrant and alive, as if responding to their commitment. "Together!" she commanded. "On three again." They positioned themselves over the symbol, hearts racing in unison. 1, 2, 3. They pressed down, focusing every ounce of energy into the markings beneath their feet. The world erupted around them. Colors exploded like fireworks, swirling faster and faster until they were enveloped in splatters of brilliance. Clara could feel the shadows scream rising against them, combated by the brilliant light they projected. And then, with a blinding flash, the light enveloped them completely. Silence fell. Feeling weightless, Clara found herself floating in a vast expanse of pure light, endless and tranquil. She felt Daniel's hand slip from hers, and panic surged. "No! Mia! Daniel!" she called, voice echoing into the void. One by one, figures emerged from the light. Mia reappeared, wide-eyed and trembling, followed by Daniel, who looked around frantically. They were not in the painting anymore, they were somewhere entirely different. "Mia! Daniel! Are you okay?" Clara's voice trembled, thick with worry. Mia nodded, but her eyes were drawn to something in the distance. Clara, look! She pointed towards a shadow creeping at the edges of their newfound space, a dark entity lurking just beyond the light's reach. It's back, Daniel whispered, and fear clawed at Clara's heart. Before she could respond, the shadow seemed to pulse, reaching for them with tendrils of darkness that nearly brushed against the light. Clara felt a chill grip her spine. They weren't just facing shadows, they were battling with the remnants of their own fears and past mistakes. Stay close, Clara urged, the urgency sparking a fire within her. As the shadow writhed, a voice erupted from the darkness. You think you can escape the past? You have only begun to face the truth of who you really are. What did it mean? What were they truly facing? Just as the fear threatened to swallow them whole. The light flickered. A singular thought struck Clara. Perhaps it was not just about fighting but understanding, or maybe something darker awaited them. But as the darkness whispered deeper secrets through its echoing voice, Clara realized the fight was far from over. Would they uncover the truth behind their fears, or would they be lost in the shadows forever? What awaited them at the heart of their confrontation? Clara's heart raced again, but this time it was a different kind of fear, something primal, an instinct that galvanized her. The shadow twisted and flickered, its shape ever changing as though it fed on their anxiety. The voice continued its haunting chant, weaving in and out of reality, threatening to unravel the threads of their sanity. We have to face it, she urged, feeling the weight of Daniel and Mia beside her. Despite the dread wrapping around her throat, there was a fierce determination bubbling within. Whatever it is, it can't control us unless we let it. Mia took a shaky breath and nodded, her palms clammy and cold. Together, right? We break through this disillusion. Yes, Clara exclaimed, tightening her grip on her brother's and sister's hands. On three again. Wait! Daniel interrupted, his voice trembling. What if we don't just have to fight? What if we have to confront what it's showing us? Clara looked at him, uncertainty flaring in her chest. You think it's trying to teach us something? The shadow pulsed at the edges of the light, almost as if it was listening. Its form rippled, becoming less menacing and more fluid. It wasn't merely darkness, it felt affected by their conversation. What if we're missing the point? Daniel continued. What if facing our fears means understanding them, not just battling through them? Clara weighed his words, feeling the tension in the air thicken. Understanding. It wasn't just a battle cry, it was a balm against despair. Still, every instinct screamed for a fight. Fine, Clara relented, her throat dry. What do we do? Let it come closer, Daniel proposed, his own voice wavering but resolute. We need to let it reveal itself. Face whatever it shows us. Trembling, Clara released her grip just a bit. Mia followed suit, and together they stood, ready to embrace the shadow. As they drew closer, Clara could feel the air grow colder, the sensation wrapping around her like icy fingers. The darkness coiled toward them, but in its embrace, images emerged like flickering film strips, a schoolyard, graffiti-covered walls, laughter mingled with cries. It was dreams and nightmares colliding, an emotional cyclone that struck at Clara's heart. No, she breathed, her hands shaking at the memories. She could see silhouettes of children, playful and carefree, morphing into shadowy figures that watched her with accusing gazes. Clara? Mia said, her voice barely above a whisper. I remember. I forgot. Clara realized, tears brimming in her eyes. These are the kids from school, the ones I ignored, made fun of. I thought I was better, more important. The shadow twisted again, and Clara's heart sank as another layer peeled away. You're right, she murmured, staring into its depths. I've been so focused on proving myself that I lost sight of what truly matters. I let them down. The dark figure seemed to pulse more intensely, almost as if it thrived on her revelation. Don't let it trap you! Daniel shouted, wishing to pull her back. You're not that person anymore. But Clara shook her head, the truth solidifying. I need to accept this. I can't be free until I face who I was. This isn't just about fear, it's a reckoning. As her words hung in the air, the light throbbed with energy, rippling around her like a heart beating strong. The shadowy form began shifting, becoming less hostile, approaching her with a strange hunger. What if? Clara's voice wavered. What if understanding our past makes it less powerful? Gripping Mia's hand, she took a deep breath. Together. For all the times we didn't stand up, for all the moments we let fear dictate our actions. The shadows recoiled in excitement, transforming into chaotic spirals of colors that melded together, swirling like a galaxy caught in a violent dance. Something shifted in the air. Clara felt lighter, uplifted as she faced her memories head-on. But before celebration could dawn, the shadows twisted ominously, forming a darker shape still hidden in the depths, lurking and waiting. A realization hit Clara like a cold gust of wind. This confrontation might only be the beginning. What if there's more we haven't faced? Mia whispered, her eyes filled with dread, and with that thought, the shadows grew, thrumming with a fierce, pulsing energy. Would they truly unlock the door to their past, or had they merely scratching the surface of a much deeper darkness? What would be the cost of their understanding? The vibrant colors whirled around Clara, Daniel, and Mia, creating a whirlwind of emotions that made their heads spin. With every passing moment, the air thickened, charged with an energy that sent shivers down their spines. What had once been a menacing shadow was now a tapestry of their fears and regrets, each thread pulsing with potential. Clara! Daniel shouted, his eyes wide with panic. Something's not right. Without warning, the bright colors morphed again, the entire display shifting into stark, monochromatic images. They faced a sprawling darkness that pulsed like a heart, its rhythm matching the quickening beats of their own. Clara's heart sunk. What was it hiding now? She felt the weight of something crucial, something they hadn't faced yet. The realizations flooded her mind like a dam breaking. Their past wasn't just colored by fear. It brimmed with guilt, shame, and the burdens they carried daily. The echoes of laughter dissolved, replaced by the metallic clang of a school bell, the sound reverberating painfully in her ears. I remember, she whispered, pressing a hand to her chest, as images of herself, smug and aloof, flickered before her. Who are you seeing? Mia asked, fear lacing her words. Is it still about those kids? No, it's like the shadow knows every time I turned away or chose to stay silent. Each moment I could be helped but didn't. Clara's voice trembled, her eyes welling with tears. The shadow grew, expanding and consuming the light, hunger emanating from its depths. It seemed to sense their emotional turmoil and thrived on it. Clara could feel her stomach knot. This was no ordinary hallucination or nightmare. This was a living entity, a manifestation of every cruel choice they had made. What if it's showing us our worst selves? Daniel said, his eyes darting as if he could see pathways inside the darkness. What if we really have to own up to those moments? The thread of despair tightened around them like a vice. Clara couldn't shake off the feeling that they had opened up Pandora's box. What more lurked behind the veil of shadows, waiting to strike at their deepest vulnerabilities? What if understanding their failures would unleash even darker truths? As Clara braced herself, she noticed something flickering at the edge of the shadow, a small glimmer of hope tangled in chains. It was a vision, a fleeting image of those same kids from school, not as tormented silhouettes, but as bright-eyed youths full of laughter. The very kids she had erased from her memory, now reaching out, as if inviting her to remember the joy of connection. Look! She cried, pointing at the glimmer. They want to be seen. Mia gasped, her breath hitching. Can we save them? Before Clara could respond, the shadow shuddered violently. The pulse transformed into a shriek that echoed in the vastness, a sound that clawed at Clara's sanity. It was warning them, threatening to swallow their understanding whole if they dared step forward. In that moment, Clara's body ignited with an unexplainable resolve. We have to do this, face the truth, whatever it is. We can't let ourselves be prisoners of our past. But as she stepped forward, the shadow writhed, the darkness clawing back as if resisting her courage. Clara felt the heat of ancient pain wash over her, and her heart raced faster. Were they truly ready? Keep holding on, Daniel shouted, grabbing Mia's hand tightly as he pulled her closer. The darker figure loomed large behind the swirling chaos, with the chilling realization that more than just fear awaited them. The shadows whispered and laughed at their reckoning, a sinister melody wrapping around them. This was not just their past they had to confront. It was a reckoning layered in pain and hidden secrets. And with each revelation, the cost became clearer. The vision of laughter faded, and Clara's heart sank as she realized they were on the precipice of finding not just answers, but deeper questions that could expose the heart of true darkness. What if we lose each other in the process? Mia whispered, the tremor in her voice betraying her fear. The shadows grabbed at them with icy fingers, a reminder that the fight was far from over. What awaited them in the heart of that darkness? What twisted revelations would they uncover about their past and each other? The final echo rang out, sending a last jolt of energy through Clara. In that moment, she knew this was just the beginning. The truth clawed from the depths, hungry and unrelenting. Would they find the strength to face it together, or would they be consumed by the very shadows they sought to understand? Clara took a deep breath, drawing strength from the presence of Daniel and Mia beside her. She could feel the darkness pressing in, the shadows beckoning them to retreat. But retreating wasn't an option, not now. This moment felt pivotal, and her resolve surged anew. We have to remember them," Clara shouted, her voice cutting through the cacophony of shrieking shadows. "We owe it to them." With each word, she felt the ground shift beneath her. Colors flickered back into existence, hues fighting against the encroaching black. Images of laughter poured in like golden light through a cracked door. The faces of the children emerged, their smiles filled with innocence and joy, untarnished by the world's cruelty. "What if we just step into it?" Mia said cautiously, her fingers tightening around Daniel's. "What if facing our past can really change everything?" Daniel hesitated, his eyes darting from the vibrant faces to the deepening dark. It was as if the shadow knew their inner conflicts, swirling faster, twisting like smoke. "And what if it consumes us instead?" he countered, his voice strained. Clara looked at them, her heart pounding. "We won't know until we try. We have to trust each other." The darkness gurgled ominously at Clara's declaration, a ripple of anger signifying that it had heard her. Shadows danced menacingly, poised to strike. "Together," Daniel urged, determination surfacing in his expression. "On three." They all nodded, their gazes locked onto the shimmering children. Unbeknownst to them, the children possessed a power of their own, a power of hope, waiting to be liberated. 1, 2, 3. With a thunderous rush, they stepped forward, hands intertwined, drowning in light. They didn't know if it would save them or doom them, but in their hearts, they felt the rising warmth of connection. Suddenly, the shadows reared up, grasping at them. The chill invaded their skin, but instead of pulling back, Clara felt a spark ignite. It was that familiar rush of blame, the heavy weight of regret. "Clara!" "No!" Daniel screamed as he felt the grip of darkness tighten. "Fight it!" Mia yelled, her voice barely audible over the din of despair echoing around them. Clara clenched her teeth, forcing vibrant memories into the forefront of her mind. The joy, the laughter, the faces that had reached out to her not for judgment, but for connection. She could feel their hands extending, pulsing with yellow warmth, urging her to pull away the layers of pain. In a daze, she began to speak. "I see you. I see your pain. I'm sorry." Each word sliced through the enveloping shadow, weakening its grasp. It writhed and shuddered at her declaration as waves of light radiated from their joined hands, the colors battling back against the dark. "What are you doing?" Mia's voice trembled, tinged with panic. "I'm accepting them. We have to accept our shadows. They'll lose their power if we stop running." With each syllable, Clara felt flickers of her past heal. Faces of those school kids she had ignored now shimmered before her in radiant colors, laughing and living boldly. The darkness recoiled violently, and a loud sob erupted, echoing a mixture of grief and anger. "That's it!" Daniel shouted, his voice a rallying cry. "Face it! Hold on! The shadows spiraled into chaos, their grip loosening as the trio stood firm, casting light upon the dark. But then, a shriek reverberated through the air, slashing through the brightness. Clara's heart dropped as she saw a new figure emerging from the shadow, barely visible yet potent, a silhouette of undeniable sorrow. The gaze was piercing, dark as a storm, filled with unexpressed anguish. "Who are you?" Clara's voice faltered as she recognized the shape and embodiment of lost opportunities and silent cries. It stepped closer, and as if the world paused, a familiar chill swept through her, instantly coursing through her veins. "I'm the reflection of what you never acknowledged," it whispered, its voice a haunting melody woven with sharp edges. Clara's breath caught in her throat, realizing they were not just facing shadows, but consequences of their choices. Were they ready to confront this new threat? As the figure took its place among the shadows, Clara felt fear coil in her stomach. What revelation would this figure bring? Would they have the power to redefine their future, or would this last encounter shatter everything they had fought for? With newfound urgency, Clara made a silent vow: she wouldn't turn away from this truth. The chilling shadow whispered once more powerful than before as its essence wrapped around Clara. What if there's no turning back? A question echoed in the abyss, lingering in the charged air, testing their determination to face what lay ahead. Clara's breath came in sharp bursts as the shadow figure advanced, each step drenched in despair. The realization of what that presence represented clawed at her insides. This was more than a whisper, it was a reckoning. Every unaddressed guilt, every overlooked opportunity loomed large in the air around them, tangling itself around their hearts like barbed wire. "Stay strong!" Daniel shouted, but even his voice trembled under the weight of the moment. Clara glanced at Mia, whose eyes reflected a mixture of confusion and fear. "What does it want?" Mia's voice was barely a whisper, trembling as she squeezed Clara's hand tighter. "The truth," the shadow replied, its tone a chilling echo. "You fear your past. You didn't just forget, you turned away. But I am here to remind you. I embody everything you neglected." Clara felt her pulse quicken. It wasn't just her past, it was their past. Choices they all made. Memories that had been buried under layers of shame and regret. "Look at it," Daniel urged, pointing a shaky finger. It's not just a thread, it's a part of us." Suddenly, colors began swirling around them again, memories manifested in the air. Laughter turned to cries, joy twisted into screams, and faces that once brought happiness shifted to expressions of hurt and betrayal. Every child they passed by, every moment they'd ignored their call for help, echoed like a haunting refrain, and Clara shivered at the truth surrounding her. "Do you want to change?" The shadow hissed, pulling itself closer until Clara could see its dark, hollow eyes. "Or do you want to remain prisoners of this pain? Help us!" Mia shouted, desperation shimmering in her voice. "We want to change. We want to make it right." The shadow paused, its form flickering as if contemplating her words. Clara felt a flicker of hope ignite within her, a fragile flame in the midst of overwhelming darkness. Could accepting the past truly alter their fate? She turned her gaze back to the faces forming in the shadows. "Forgive us!" Clara cried out. "We see you. We're sorry we didn't give you the attention, the love, the recognition you deserved." The air thickened with tension, then something shifted. The shadow began to shudder violently, caught between the joy of recognition and the pain of betrayal. A tortured shriek erupted, a sound so primal it was as if the shadows themselves mourned their lost dreams. "Face it!" Daniel yelled, angered by the oppression surrounding them. "You are not just our fear. You are our memories too. We can grow from you." Mia's voice joined his, calling out the names of children they had forgotten. Each name pulled a strand from the dark. Clara added her own, each acknowledgement tearing away parts of the shadow, bits of anguish falling apart like ash. The chilling figure's form started to fracture. "You don't truly understand. I am your reflection. This pain is part of who you are," it shrieked, falling into chaos. "Maybe. But we have the power to rewrite our story," Clara declared defiantly. Suddenly, A blinding white light exploded from their intertwined hands, shattering the oppressive darkness. Clara fought to hold on to her friends, as the light surged forward, pushing back against the shadow, driving it to the edges of their resolve. In that moment she felt a connection deeper than ever before, a united front against fear, regret, and silence. But just as victory seemed within their grasp, the shadow screeched one last time, rearing back defiantly. "You can't escape the truth forever." And with that it exploded into a cloud of darkness, swirling violently around them before vanishing completely, leaving Clara, Daniel, and Mia gasping for breath. "What just happened?" Mia's voice barely cut through the silence, panting. "I don't know," Daniel answered, looking ghostly pale. Clara felt something heavy hanging in the air. They released the truth, but at what cost? "Are we safe?" She wondered aloud, knowing the answer lay buried yet again, waiting to resurface. "What do we do now?" Mia asked, looking apprehensive and vulnerable. But as Clara looked around, the shadows had not completely receded. It felt like a deceptive calm before the storm. "Maybe we have to choose to face it every day," Clara whispered. And just then, from the depths of fading darkness, a low whisper floated back. "You think this is over?" It slithered into their minds like a serpent, and Clara's heart raced. This wasn't a conclusion, it was just the beginning. As an icy chill swept through the air, Clara braced herself. What awaited them on the other side of that whisper? Was freedom truly theirs to grasp, or would the shadows return to ensnare them once more? Clara stood at the edge of an abyss, a mix of dread and determination swirling within her. They had faced shadows of their past and emerged with a fragile sense of victory, but she felt a gnawing realization: this wasn't an end, it was a beginning. Daniel and Mia stayed close, their warmth grounding her in a universe that had just shifted yet again. "Do you remember what the shadow said?" Clara turned to the twins, urgency crackling in the air. "It's not over." Silence answered her, heavy with an unspeakable fear that hovered between them. The whisper lingered, casting a dark pall over their recent triumph. It was as if the shadows had morphed from an external force into a seed embedded deep in their minds. Daniel rubbed his temples, and Mia's eyes darted nervously. They understood. This was about confronting not just ghosts, but cultivating courage to change their lives. "Let us not run," Daniel said, his voice steady despite the quiver of uncertainty beneath. "We need to face whatever is left, and make a promise to each other." "Together," Clara added, clutching their hands tighter. Mia nodded, and they formed a circle, a pact forged in shared fears and burning desire. Suddenly, the air trembled again, and the whispered threat pulsed in the depths of Clara's mind. "Face it," it hissed, tinged with sarcasm. "You think confronting me will erase your past? I won't let you control us." Clara shot back defiantly, lifting her chin. "Our past is ours to learn from, not to live in fear of." The shadows flickered, restless and monstrous, curling around the room like smoke. In the haze, Clara saw fractured memories, angry words exchanged, friends abandoned, moments of silence when they should have spoken up. It all rose within her, an all-consuming tide of shame and regret. What if? Daniel hesitated, his breath shaky. What if we had to remember it all, not just the bad, but the good too? What if we celebrate our growth with every recollection? Exactly! Mia exclaimed, her voice lighting with hope. There were moments of connection. We can hold on to those as we confront the dark. Clara took a deep breath, affirming their intention. Let us call upon those memories. Let us summon the light within all that we've faced. As one, they closed their eyes and focused, reaching into the crevices of their minds. Clara pictured laughter, the carefree moments when they played with friends under the sun. Daniel conjured images of shared secrets whispered beneath the covers, and Mia saw herself lending a helping hand to classmates in need. Light surged in waves, illuminating the darkness with radiant sparks of hope and gratitude. "See? We hold the power!" Clara shouted, her voice echoing with newfound strength. With every moment they cherished, the shadows recoiled, writhing in desperation as memories turned into a shield. But as the shadows thickened, A darker truth still loomed, a memory, twisted and resentful, slinking toward Clara. It embodied her lingering regrets, the doubts that clouded her resolve. "You think you've changed?" it taunted, its voice sharp like a blade. "You'll always carry me within you." Clara felt her resolve crack, and dread clawed at her throat. "No, no!" she protested, shaking her head. But it was true, she couldn't deny that past parts of her still haunted her, the choices that would always echo in her heart. "Embrace it," Mia urged, her own voice trembling. "This isn't just about fighting, this is acceptance." "Right," Daniel breathed fervently. "We must move forward without erasing the past, but allowing it to guide us. It's part of who we are." Clara swallowed hard, nodding as tears brimmed her eyes. They could acknowledge their intertwined darkness without being chained to it. It was a heavy realization, but she found clarity. If they could accept the flawed bits of themselves, they would find true freedom. "I see you," Clara whispered, confronting the twisted memory. "All the moments I let fear dictate my choices. I felt ashamed, but your lessons are part of my journey. I won't let you define me anymore." As she spoke, a blinding flash erupted from there. Hands, swirling light intertwining with shadows, chasing the darkness back. The figure shrieked, contorting in agony, and Clara held fast to her belief, anchoring her truth to the ground. "Together. Let us not just fight, let us embrace," Clara shouted, and together they took a step forward. The shadows began to dissipate, fleeing the light that grew increasingly powerful. With every pulse of luminescence, the figures bloomed from the past, echoing voices of those they had abandoned, laughter mingling with resolve. Clara could feel their collective strength, a powerful reminder of what it meant to grow. "We have the right to rewrite our story." The shadows were once indomitable, but not now. They shrieked and faded, drowning in the brilliance that crescendoed around them. They transformed into glimmers of golden light, each shimmering truth anchored in Clara's heart. In that radiant embrace, Clara, Daniel, and Mia found themselves at the crossroads of responsibility and transformation. They had faced the darkness and come through, love lighting their way toward healing. And just like that, the shadows faded completely, leaving behind a tranquil sense of catharsis. "Did we?" Clara began, her breath heavy with disbelief. "We did. We confronted it," Mia exclaimed, her eyes sparkling, freed from the burden. "Yes." Daniel's words burst forth, brimming with excitement. "Together, we found the truth. And together, we can keep that light alive." Clara smiled, the bond they shared invigorating her spirit. They weren't just stepping away from the darkness, they were forging a path into the light. No longer prisoners of their past, they were ready to embrace the future. And as they stood together, their hearts filled with hope, Clara realized they were destined for something incredible, an extraordinary journey filled with potential. "Whatever comes next, we'll face it," she declared, eyes shining bright. The world lay open before them, drenched in possibility. One choice at a time, they would rewrite their narrative, stitch scars into stories woven with love and understanding. In that moment, Clara knew this was their time to shine brightly and inspire others to face their shadows with courage. The shadows may wane, but the light they discovered within would forever illuminate their path. And with that, their transformative journey began anew together, hand in hand, ready to embrace the moments yet to come. Now that you've reached the end, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Believe me, you won't want to miss out. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. And I want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this thrilling conclusion. Also, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this all unfolds. Your support means everything, and let us keep the adventures alive.